From the Russ Center for Media in downtown Cape Girardeau, welcome to Focus on Southeast, a program on issues, events, and people impacting Southeast Missouri State University and the broader community. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. On today's show, we're spending some time with Dr. Brad Hodson, president of Southeast Missouri State University. Dr. Hodson, good to see you.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being on with us again. So it's been about 5 months, since you started.
Yes.
So I just want to get some impressions first, some overall takeaways from you. First of all, impressions of SEMO, the university itself, first of all.
What a tremendous place. I've enjoyed very much exploring the academic programs, the faculty, the staff, the buildings. I think I've poked my head in a lot of corners that were unexpected, and that's been fun. But I've just been so warmly welcomed and have been just a renewed sense of how impressed I am with this university.
Yeah. Now, when you first came, I think you said that you told your folks, keep me out and about. I don't want to be in the office all the time. Has that been working out the way you planned?
Very much so, yes. To the point that I find myself coming and going quite a bit, and I love it.
That's a good thing.
I'd rather be out seeing new people and hearing about their lives and their work and their experiences at SEMO than I would being in the office.
Yeah. So, impressions of the region so far?
What an amazing history and culture and people and food and music. And Sue and I have just immersed ourselves in everything possible. We've been to the River Campus as much as possible. We've been downtown. We've been in the region. We went to high school football games and took that opportunity from Kennett to Sykeston and Dexter and everywhere in between to explore the local cuisine, the local restaurants. I'd ask for recommendations and we'd try something new. So we have tried to jump in with both feet.
It has to be real exciting, especially coming to a new place, and there's so many new things to learn about and to find out about.
I've barely scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah. What impressions of the alumni so far?
I've had several alumni events, mostly in St. Louis. That seems to be where we focus in the fall. I'm told that in the spring we do more Boot Heel regional events and even some national. But the folks in St. Louis, I've been there 2 or 3 times, large turnouts, which is always encouraging, very open to what's happening at the institution, great questions. Again, just a sense of welcoming me from day one into the Red Hawk family.
Yeah, do you have a sense from the alumni of any issues that sort of matriculated to the surface from several people? Is there anything they're really curious about? Or?
Well, the first question I was asked was, am I bringing the Indians back as a mascot? And I said, no. I understand why you would ask, but that ship has sailed. But no concerns or anything overriding. They understand how important, and again, I've only been in St. Louis for some alumni events, as I recall. They understand how important the metro area is to our enrollment, and they want to know how they can help. And they're also, again, want to be mentors for current students in their careers. So just an open door, anything we can do to help, let us know, and that's encouraging.
And of course, you had your first homecoming.
I did.
That was fun.
Oh, it was outstanding, and getting to walk in the parade and be on the field when the Man and Woman of the Year are announced. It was just a great weekend from start to finish.
And this is a job that you said you always wanted. Is it meeting those expectations that you sort of had in your mind?
Sue will tell you, if you ask her, that I come home about once or twice a month and say this is the best job ever.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
That's really good. So let's talk about businesses. What are you hearing from? There's so many businesses that the university has interacted with, and it's been growing over the years. What are you hearing from them?
It really is an extension of what I heard during my onboarding in the spring and early summer. They want us to be more engaged. They want an early look at talent. Particularly folks that are desperate for that workforce influx of graduates. They want to get in earlier, which we're all about. I think in my inaugural speech I talked about experiential learning and getting our students and our faculty out into industry earlier, giving them an opportunity to see careers up front rather than just hearing about them in theory. And so the businesses want talent. They need that workforce influx that we provide, and so that's not really changed. They also want us to do a better job of telling our story. Again, reinforcing what I heard. We know you're doing great things, we just don't hear enough about it, and we can certainly fix that.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that we'll be hearing more about. And the new brand, I guess, feeds into that.
It did. The brand dropped on homecoming, October 17th. Fearless is the new brand, which speaks to sort of that anxiety that some students have about, is college worth it? Will I get the return on that investment? Will I be able to do the work? Can I thrive in Cape Girardeau? And we want them to be fearless in that endeavor.
Yeah, And of course, higher education, things are changing so much. It's so much more competitive. There's so many things that are sort of cooking. What are some of the things that you're kind of watching at the presidential level right now, executive staff level?
Well, I'm just learning really who our competitors are, and I'm taking the opportunity through some of our athletic contests to visit those campuses.
Okay.
And so when a name of a school comes up, I'll see if we might be playing them. And I don't just show up to the game. I drive the campus, I walk the campus, I get an opportunity to interact with their leadership to get a better sense of who they are, what they're offering, because we do have to be far more competitive than we had in the past. You can be a student of any institution almost around the globe at the click of a mouse, but oftentimes that decision is made based off a campus visit or an interaction with a staff member, some impression of the institution. We have to continually up our game.
Yeah. So let's change gears a bit and talk about the strategic planning process. That's sort of underway. Talk about, first of all, I guess, your value, how much you value strategic planning. You've talked about how important it is, so speak to that first, I guess, before we get into the details.
I value strategic planning immensely. I think that if you don't have a roadmap for where you want to go, you will just wander aimlessly and then think you've arrived, but with no real purpose or direction. And so I'm a big fan of strategic planning. I've said before that I value the process of developing the plan, but it's really the implementation that excites me. And so the task force has been formed, a 15-member task force, 5 of whom are external to the university. We want that outside voice from St. Louis, the Boot Heel, Cape County, and so 5 of the 15 are not university employees or students. The rest are, but we want that perspective because it is not a plan for us, it is a plan on how we best serve the region.
Yeah, I looked at that list earlier today and I noticed the city manager of Poplar Bluff was on the list.
Rob Nodell, yes.
Which, it speaks to, I guess, the broadness of it to try to capture so many different viewpoints.
Absolutely, and Marcy Lawson from Sykeston and Eric Levin from St. Louis. So a great group of people who can help us understand how what we do every day here and the graduates we produce actually continue in a circular fashion to feed the economy and feed the region for generations.
And that's a 5-year strategic plan, I think?
Well, I'm not getting too prescriptive about that. I would like to have a 5-year plan because some of the really big goals that I perceive we might have will take longer than 3 years to achieve. But I'll let the task force figure that out.
So what's a timeline look like for that? I mean, the work has just started.
It's just started, but the timeline is very finite. That plan has to be presented to the Board of Governors at their June meeting in 2026, and will begin implementation July 1st. So there is not years to discern a future direction. There are months, and I'm a big fan of try something. If it works, try more. If it doesn't work, retool, sort of tweak and then go forward. So I'm not looking for perfection. We don't need to determine what over the next 5 years will be perfect. We need to determine what will allow us to better meet our vision and serve the needs of the students in the region. And we will then do another 5-year plan, and we'll tweak and we'll adjust, and we'll do another 5-year plan. And so it is an iterative process that over the long term will yield tremendous results.
Because a lot of times when you have these plans, some folks are afraid to make a decision. They think, well, it sort of fits, but it doesn't. But what you're saying is you go ahead and do it, and if it doesn't work, maybe step back, assess, and say, okay, let's tweak that just a little here.
So there's a difference between implementation of the plan and fit within the plan. There will be lots of ideas that will tempt us in the next 5 years. And we have to be pretty disciplined about seeing if those ideas fit into our vision for ourselves and for the institution. And have the fortitude to say, that's a great idea. Let's put it in a parking lot and revisit it, because we're really focused on implementing this plan and working our way towards this vision. And then that next iteration may very well scoop up that idea.
It could come back. So you capture all of that information.
Capture everything,
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we take a pause here, and then we'll continue our conversation when we come back. We're talking with Dr. Brad Hodson. This is Focus on Southeast, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. We're talking today with Southeast President Dr. Brad Hodson. Of course, had some good conversations already. We have more to talk about. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is SEMO Now. What is it?
Well, SEMO Now is an opportunity for our friends and alumni and community leaders to become engaged with our legislative advocacy work. I'm in Jeff City quite a bit. I'm in DC a couple of times a year. The elected officials hear from me quite a bit. They know what the priorities are for SEMO from Brad Hodson's perspective or Chris Martin, our Chief of Staff, the Board of Governors. But when they hear from folks out in the community, when they hear from alumni, business leaders, that has an additional resonance. Well, if those folks are going to advocate on behalf of the university, we want to arm them with the latest, best information, accurate information. So SEMO Now is an opportunity to sign up. There is a website, and so you can visit that at the website for SEMO Now, but there is an opportunity for folks to join us in our advocacy for the university, to be a multiplier of our message and to reinforce to our elected officials that, again, it's not just the university that wants these things, that it's a broader community. Some of their donors, some of their supporters want SEMO to prosper and grow.
Talk about how important it is to be in front of legislators and have relationships with legislators for the university. It's critical, right?
It is critical, and it's something I'm very comfortable with. I've done it for other institutions at which I worked, one in Missouri, and so I know Jefferson City and the Capitol building very well, and have enjoyed meeting the legislative delegation from Southeast Missouri. I'm very familiar with Southwest Missouri's elected officials, but it is critical. Those folks send many, many millions of dollars to Southeast Missouri State University every year. We have to go up and make our case that there is a return on that investment. And we just finished putting together our advocacy packet that we'll leave in their offices. And it speaks to that ROI. It speaks to the $1.4 billion economic impact that the university has. It speaks to every dollar invested by the state returns 4 times back to the institution. And so those sort of facts are very important, particularly as you advocate for additional investment.
And of course, budgets are always tighter, and those investments are so critical because there's a lot of things that, of course, the university would like to do to maintain, but to also expand and grow and offer more programs and get more students involved, right? There's a lot of pieces moving there.
There are a lot of pieces, and I've always said, and I've tried to practice this in the first 6 months, that it is very difficult to build a relationship with a legislator in Jefferson City during session, because you are elbowing your way between the Cattlemen's Association and the AARP and the realtors and everyone that's up there, K-12, wanting to bend their ear. I've spent much of this fall semester out meeting legislators across the state of Missouri to introduce myself and to talk about SEMO's strategic priorities and how the state can be an investor in those priorities.
So folks, anybody can get involved in this, right?
Anybody can get involved in SEMO Now. We will do some legislative advocacy training with you. You will be the recipient of a regular email update about what we're doing in Jeff City, where we're finding opportunity and where they can be of assistance in reaching out to legislators and reinforcing our message.
Okay. So let's talk a little about enrollment and sort of what the update was for the fall and where we're at this point.
Yes, we were down overall in headcount 7% in the fall. Much of that international students. We lost 493 international students. They were unable to get visas largely to come to the United States. So that wasn't anything that SEMO did or even Missouri higher education. That was a national issue. But it still did have a profound impact on our enrollment. We did see some great growth, though, in domestic first-time students. They were up 7%. Our transfer students were up 10%. So there were some great signs of growth in some key areas. Going forward, we're going to be far more reliant on domestic students, as we always have been, but we've sort of used international enrollment to buck up the numbers as many institutions have. Those will not always be available to us in the future. So we're just redoubling our efforts in our traditional markets, St. Louis to the Boot Heel and over into Illinois, to try to grow the institution with domestic first-time undergraduate and graduate students.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is, will domestic student and recruitment and engagement try to make up for the loss? I mean, there's no other way to get around it, is there?
There's no other way to get it. Now, there are other sectors that we can begin to make inroads. Adult degree completers. Certainly graduate education presents a great opportunity, but the traditional 18 to 25-year-old is a far more competitive and shrinking market. We have to make that case for why SEMO far more effectively every year going forward.
So it has to be, telling the story to the parents too, and getting them to talk about the value of the college education, and then what students can get at SEMO. I mean, it's a big story to tell, and there's a lot of avenues to tell it. And I guess one of the things that you and the marketing folks figure out is the most cost-effective way to tell that story.
So there's a finite marketing budget, and there are many, many avenues to convey information. We do have to find that right mix, not just to reach the prospective students, but you mentioned it, their parents, high school counselors, other people who have an influence on their decision, because it's no longer just the student making the choice. Mom and dad and counselors and other family members play a large role. That is expensive, but necessary.
Yeah. One of the things some good news that happened this last semester was that the university was among most affordable for out-of-state students. That was some really good news.
Right, that was great news, and I love it when external third-party folks recognize the university. I mean, earlier in 2025, SEMO was named one of the top 10 small college towns to go to school. We were number 8. So Cape Girardeau, Missouri competes very well nationally with other small college towns in being a fun place to live, to work, to get a job, and so we were really pleased, always pleased to be recognized with those rankings.
Well, and one of the things that we've talked about a lot on this show over the years is just the student experience here, the tie-in with the local business community, keeping an ear to the ground to them so that programs can be crafted and tailored to meet the workforce needs, and that's just absolutely critical, not only to SEMO success, but any university really these days, right?
Well, and that's not just the president's job. We have to have our deans and our leadership team out and engaged, our career services staff very plugged into what the new needs are. I had an opportunity to sit next to one of the hospital CEOs this morning in a meeting, and I didn't let him get away from me before I asked, what do you need? What's going on? What's the latest? And the message hadn't changed very much from the last time I asked, but I will keep asking, because there may come a time when he has a little kernel of information that opens up a whole new avenue of degree programs, prospective students, employment that we had not yet imagined.
And one of the things that fascinates me as you develop degrees and programs, it takes time to do that, right?
And it does take time. Higher education is notoriously slow in that process. So we can't stand up a degree program tomorrow.
Right.
But we can do it faster than 18 months to 2 years. And so there's got to be a sweet spot in there. We do have a lot of folks that dictate that timeline. For example, we have to send all of our new programs through the state of Missouri for the coordinating board's approval. We have to send it to the Higher Learning Commission. They're on their own time schedule, but the development of the curriculum and the pushing of that application out to those outside accreditors and agencies can be done far more quickly.
Okay. Well, let's take a pause here. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. This is Focus on Southeast. Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. We are talking today with Dr. Brad Hodson, President of Southeast Missouri State University. So let's switch gears to sports for a minute.
All right.
SEMO is going to stay in the OVC.
Yes. So we are approached from time to time by other conferences that would like for us to join them. They see us as adding value competitively to their conference. That was the case earlier this year, and we always take those seriously.
Yeah.
We always do the due diligence and the assessment, but in the end we chose to stay with the OVC because we believe it is a league that matches our competitiveness, that understands our geography. All of our competitors are within a reasonable travel time. We have to think carefully about how much time our student athletes spend outside of class traveling to events, what the expenses are to make that travel. So in the end, we chose to stay with the OVC, and I see us staying there for several years, but we do go through the due diligence and do the assessment because we want to give those student athletes and our fans the best experience possible.
Well, and I would imagine staying in OVC, there's a recruitment piece to that too. This, if we say we're an OVC school, right?
Well, there is, and we look at what markets the OVC covers that are prospective student recruitment markets.
Okay.
One would be Nashville and metropolitan St. Louis. We have Lindenwood and SIU Edwardsville in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And so having us on the news and competing in those markets and having our fans show up to those games has a ripple effect throughout the institution.
Yeah, talk a little about just the importance of athletics to the university experience, to the student experience.
Well,
Alumni experience.
athletics adds tremendous value, and so oftentimes you can look at athletics in one of two ways. You can look at it as an expense or an investment.
Right.
And so you will have folks that will calculate how much it costs for us to offer these sports and all the travel and the operations and the staff and say that's an expense, we could use that money elsewhere. I'm a very firm believer that if you have the talent to compete at a Division I level, that you're going to go compete somewhere. And if we were to suddenly say, we're not going to have a football team, for example, but all 100 of those student athletes are going to stay and take classes and it'll be fine, I don't believe that. I believe that they will find a place that values their talent. They want to compete. And so those athletes bring their tuition dollars, their residence life dollars, the economic impact to the community. And then the sports themselves, the competitions, bring notoriety to the university. It's the front door for many folks. It's the way they enter into the institution is through athletics. And so there is a ripple effect, not only financially, but with applications and admission, with philanthropic dollars, with community engagement. Athletics is absolutely an investment that pays back to the institution.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about you're putting together your leadership team. That's something you've been working on.
Yes.
Kind of tell us kind of where that started and where we're at this point in time.
So on July 1, I had 3 vice presidents that were interim, enrollment management and student success, finance and administration, and then academic affairs. Very quickly in July, I laid out a plan to fill those in the next year, and the first on deck was the vice president for enrollment management and student success. Dr. Bruce Skinner had been serving as the interim since July 1, and we've completed a national search, and we have extended that offer to Dr. Stephen Schulteis from Georgia, who will be joining us in mid-January to lead that very important division that includes enrollment, student life, residence life, all the aspects of the institution that touch the students outside of academic affairs.
Okay.
And then now that we've completed that, we will turn our focus to the Vice President for Finance and Administration, again, a national search. And then in the fall of 26, we'll search for a Vice President for Academic Affairs. I staged the academic affairs search last so that I would have more time to get to know the deans, the faculty, and build those relationships before we hired the leader of academic affairs.
I'm just a little curious. So when you looked at SEMO before you came and you saw that there were just interims in those 3 levels, did that scare you a little bit? It's like, I'm going to do 3 searches, 3 big searches when I get there. That's a lot.
It didn't take long to understand why those were interim positions. There had been a retirement. There had been our last vice president for academic affairs became a president at another institution. So it didn't intimidate me. It didn't scare me. It actually is quite enticing to be able to some degree form your own leadership team.
Well, yeah, that would be kind of exciting. We got a couple of minutes and we're going to do something special. But before we get to that, beyond strategic planning, I'm just curious, what are some things that you'd like to try to see to do, or something that are on your radar beyond the strategic plan as the president that you're looking at just broadly?
We certainly have a beautiful campus, and we have several new buildings that are being built, most notably Blunt Hall, which will rise where Dearmont Residence Hall has been for many, many decades. And a lot of folks lived in Dearmont and have very fond memories. And so Blunt Hall is something that's on my radar, but certainly making sure the campus reflects the quality of the academic programs that are behind those walls. And so I've worked very closely with the staff in facilities management to focus on some areas that we could see some upgrades in the appearance of campus. That's everything from landscaping to making sure the buildings have been power washed. It's not rocket science, but it's easy for a campus, which in some cases, in our case, is 153 years old, to begin to look tired, and it's always time for a refresh. And so that's one place that has my attention.
And I think that's something that will be welcomed by many. As you said, sometimes it's just simple little things that we do around our homes in many cases too.
That's right. That's right. We just have a really big house.
We have a really big house to take care of. And I guess when you think about the regional campuses, there's a lot of property the university manages and has to take care of, so that's a big endeavor.
I've told Brady Barkey next year when he does the trivia event that he should ask people how many square miles or acres do they think the university owns, and it's a number that no one could fathom.
Yeah, I think Angela Meyer was here on the show once, and she told me that number, and it was even more than I realized.
Well, you know we have a farm.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of folks don't know that we own a farm. And then you take the main campus and the regional campuses, and then we own some property that is not currently being used near Cape Girardeau, but we own a lot of property.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do something exciting here. So if you're watching, typically when you see the show, you'll see us visiting here at the table, but there are students behind the scenes that make this show happen. So we're going to pop up here, and we're going to let you see some of the behind the scenes. And Dr. Hodson, this is a perfect example of experiential learning.
Hands-on learning, absolutely.
Experiential learning here at SEMO. So the folks in the control room, we're going to pan around so you can see them. Hey, guys.
See some familiar faces in there. Oh my gosh, there's 5 or 6 in there.
So I think there's probably, 10 or 12 folks? So we're going to flip back around here so you can see the camera operators back here so they can all say hello. Hey, guys. So there's a lot of folks that make the show go. So we just get to be on.
It's not just you.
No. Absolutely not. And we have a couple of folks graduating, so this is their last show.
How exciting.
So we're excited for them, but this is doing it, hands-on learning right here at
That's
Southeast.
right. So who's graduating? Raise your hand. Where are you from originally?
Potosi, Missouri.
Potosi, okay. And your degree is in mass communication?
communications.
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you know what you want to do yet?
I want to write movies.
Oh my gosh, how exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. Tell me your name.
Aubrianne,
Now, you'll graduate in December or May?
December.
Okay, so I'll get to shake your hand in a couple of
Yes.
weeks. That's
All right.
exciting. Congratulations.
All right, well, we need to wrap it. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're good. So you got to see behind the scenes. Thanks for joining us for Focus on Southeast. We'll see you next time.